Our story, the story of humanity, is a truly remarkable one. It is a tale written not in books, but in the very fabric of the earth. Ancient bones and weathered stones. To understand who we are today, we must journey back in time, far beyond recorded history, to a world teeming with creatures both strange and familiar. We must look to the sprawling savannas of Africa, the cradle of our kind, where a new type of hominin took its first upright steps onto the world stage. This creature would fundamentally alter the course of evolution, a pioneer whose legacy echoes within each of us. This was Homo erectus. Before Homo erectus, our ancestors were more varied, perhaps less formidable. Creatures like Australopithecines, Lucy, were still tied to the trees, with bodies that mixed ape-like and human-like features. They were smaller, with brains not much larger than a chimpanzee's. Their world largely confined to Africa. They were crucial, but a prologue. The main chapter that leads to us was about to begin. With a hominin that stood tall, thought in new ways, and looked to the horizon with recognizable purpose. To trace the story of Homo erectus, we must travel back almost 2 million years into the deep past. The earliest definitive fossils of this remarkable species have been unearthed from the ancient soil of Africa, dating to around 1.9 million years ago. Imagine that world. The great ice ages were beginning to sculpt the northern hemisphere, and the African climate was fluctuating, creating a challenging and ever-changing environment. It was in this crucible of change that Homo erectus emerged, likely evolving from an earlier hominin such as Homo habilis, the handyman. They were a new and improved model, better adapted to life on the open ground. Their time on this planet was astonishingly long. While our own species, Homo sapiens, has been around for only about 300,000 years, Homo erectus endured for well over 1.5 million years. For perspective, their reign lasted more than 5 times longer than ours so far. They evolved, they changed, they spread across the globe. Early African populations, sometimes called Homo ergaster, gave rise to later populations found across Asia and parts of Europe. By about 1.8 million years ago, we find evidence of Homo erectus outside Africa, most famously at Dmanisi in Georgia. What made Homo erectus so successful? The answer lies in their very biology. A collection of traits set them apart from all who came before. Perhaps the most striking feature was their body plan. Long legs, shorter arms, tall, slender frame. This was a body built for walking. Crucially, for running long distances across the hot, open savanna. This ability, endurance running, would have been a game-changer. It allowed them to track animals over vast areas, and perhaps to hunt by running prey to exhaustion. Alongside this modern body came a significant expansion of the brain. The brain of an early Homo erectus averaged around 850 to 900 cubic centimeters. That's a big leap from the 600 cubic centimeters of Homo habilis and more than double an Australopithecine. Bigger brains are metabolically expensive. They need lots of energy. That implies a major shift in diet. Higher quality foods like meat, beef, and marrow provided fuel for the growing brain. This larger brain powered innovation, more complex thought, better planning, improved social cooperation. Their social lives grew more complex. Living in larger groups helped with hunting, defending against predators like saber-toothed cats, and raising their young. The story of technology did not begin with Homo erectus, but it was profoundly transformed by them. Earlier hominins like Homo habilis had created simple stone tools by knocking a few flakes off a cobble. These Oldowan tools were certainly useful, but they were opportunistic and lacked a consistent design. Homo erectus, with their larger brains, took tool-making to an entirely new level. They became the inventors of a technology so successful it would persist for over 1 million years, the Acheulean industry. The hallmark of this new toolkit was the hand axe. The maker would start with a large stone core and systematically chip away at it from both sides, a technique known as bifacial flaking, to produce a symmetrical, teardrop-shaped tool with a sharp point and cutting edges. This required foresight, patience, and a clear mental template of the desired final product. It was not just a tool, it was a concept, an idea brought to life in stone. These hand axes were the Swiss Army knives of the Pleistocene, butchering animals, digging for tubers, stripping bark from trees, and perhaps even as a projectile. The creation of a standardized tool like the hand axe implies the transmission of knowledge, A young Homo erectus would have had to learn the craft from an elder, watching and imitating the complex sequence of strikes needed to achieve the correct shape. This is evidence of teaching and learning, the very essence of culture. The consistency of hand-axe design across vast distances and over immense periods of time speaks to a shared tradition. For millions of years, the story of human evolution was confined entirely to the continent of Africa. It was our ancestral homeland, our nursery, and our proving ground. But with the arrival of Homo erectus, this long Africa-centric chapter came to a dramatic close. For the first time, a hominin species possessed the biological and cultural tools necessary to step out of its cradle and explore the wider world. This event, known as the Out of Africa One Migration, was one of the most significant moments in our entire history, setting a pattern of global expansion that our own species would later emulate. Why did they leave? Well, there was likely no single reason, but a combination of powerful drivers. Climate change may have played a role, altering landscapes and pushing animal herds, and the hominins who hunted them into new territories. Their own success could have been a factor as well, as their populations grew in Africa. Groups would have naturally expanded into adjacent, unoccupied lands in search of resources and space. They were not explorers with maps and a destination in mind. They were simply generations of families, slowly but surely pushing the boundaries of their world, one valley at a time over thousands of years. Their new biological adaptations were critical to this expansion. The long legs and efficient stride of Homo erectus made them capable of covering vast distances. Their larger brains allowed them to be more flexible and innovative, to solve the novel problems they would have encountered in the unfamiliar environments of Asia and Europe. Homo erectus did not exist in a vacuum. They were a vital link in the long, unbroken chain of human evolution, a bridge connecting primitive hominins to advanced species. To understand their importance, look backward and forward in the family tree. Before them, Homo habilis. Before them, Australopithecines. These earlier ancestors were smaller-brained. They had more ape-like body proportions. They were largely restricted to Africa. They laid the groundwork, but Homo erectus was a radical departure. Compared to predecessors, Homo erectus was a giant leap forward, fully terrestrial bipedal life, nearly modern body size and proportions, significantly larger brains, sophisticated tool-making abilities, more capable hunters and gatherers, better problem solvers, more effective communicators. These traits let them outcompete other hominins and expand into new niches. Their geographic spread and long-term success followed. They were the first species to truly step onto the human path. Looking forward, we see Homo erectus's clear legacy. Around 600–700 years ago in Africa, populations evolved into Homo heidelbergensis. Homo heidelbergensis had an even larger brain, gave rise to Neanderthals in Europe, gave rise to Homo sapiens in Africa. Homo erectus is the direct ancestor of later large-brained humans. Those traits formed the platform for later human evolution. The term missing link often conjures images of a creature, half ape, half human. A single fossil that would magically complete the puzzle of our origins. In reality, evolution doesn't work that way. It's a gradual process with countless intermediate forms, not a simple chain with one lost piece. However, if any species in our family tree deserves to be called a crucial link, it is Homo erectus. They are not missing. We have found hundreds of their fossils. They are a perfect transitional species, connecting what came before and what came after. The reason Homo erectus fits so well is that they embody the transition. We see the waning of ape-like characteristics and the waxing of modern human traits. They mark the shift from a smaller-brained, forest-dwelling ancestor to a large-brained, globe-trotting hominin. Scientists find the answer written in their skeleton. Long legs, movement to the savanna, skulls, brain expansion, stone tools, dawn of complex thought. This species answers big questions about our evolution. Why do we have such large brains? Homo erectus needed high-quality food like meat, aided by evolving intellect. Why do we have bodies built for endurance? The anatomy of Homo erectus was perfected for life on the open plains. Why are humans a global species? Homo erectus was first to show global migration was possible. The legacy of Homo erectus is not confined to dusty museum halls and fossil collections. It is alive and well, written into the very fabric of our being. Every time we go for a long walk, or a run, we are using the efficient bipedal body plan. that they perfected over 1 million years ago. Their long legs, resilient arches, were a revolutionary adaptation, a blueprint we have inherited directly. Our ability to sweat to cool ourselves down, a key trait for life under the African sun, also has its roots in this period. We are, in our very anatomy, the children of Homo erectus. Their cognitive legacy is just as profound. The expansion of the brain that began with Homo erectus set our lineage on a new trajectory. This neurological revolution paved the way for complex language, abstract thought, art, science, the ability to build civilizations. While they did not possess these things in the way we do, they laid the essential groundwork. Innovations like the Acheulean hand axe show planning, teaching, and culture that was passed down through generations. Furthermore, their behavior established a new pattern for survival. Their apparent control of fire was a monumental achievement. This mastery over fire was uniquely human-like, and it began with them. For all that we have learned about Homo erectus, their story remains wonderfully incomplete, filled with tantalizing questions that continue to drive scientific research. One of the greatest mysteries revolves around the very beginning of their journey, and the very end of their journey. The exact relationship between Homo erectus and Homo habilis is still debated. Was it a direct linear evolution, or did they both emerge from a common ancestor? Similarly, the final days of Homo erectus are shrouded in fog. Another area of intense curiosity is the nature of their minds and their communication. We see the evidence of their intelligence in their tools, but what were their thoughts like? Did they possess a language? They lacked the vocal anatomy for the full range of sounds we can produce, yet they likely had a more complex system of communication than any ape. Perhaps it was a combination of gestures, grunts, simple vocalizations, uncovering clues about how they shared complex ideas, how to make a tool, how to coordinate a hunt, is a holy grail for paleoanthropologists. The precise timeline and motivation for their expansion out of Africa present puzzles. Homo erectus stands as a monumental figure in our past, the ancestor who defined what it means to be human. They were innovators, pioneers, survivors on an epic scale.